So I was super excited to log on to my Netflix account to finally watch season 2 of Marie Kondo's Netflix shows, which is Sparking Joy with Marie Kondo, but immediately I was crushed. I cannot believe that they only gave us 3 episodes. 3! It's not enough! This is not enough joy. Not nearly enough. I need more joy, Marie. We got 8 episodes in season 1. 8! Why, Marie? Doshite? Okay, I'm calm. I just had to take a moment to remind myself, as a minimalist, we're always looking for quality over quantity, and of course there was plenty of that in season 2, Sparking Joy with Marie Kondo. Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Marissa and I'm a recovering emotional hoarder turned minimalist mom, and I'm married to my handsome husband, Mr. Zen, and we have 2 boys ages 6 and 8. And while my family went way beyond the KonMari method when we extreme decluttered our entire home down to 8 suitcases and moved overseas to Europe.
Look at her butt cheeks.
Oh my gosh, they're butt cheeks.
Yeah, he's butt cheeks.
Marie Kondo will always have a special place in my heart because her book is one of the things that got me started on this minimalism journey 5 years ago. Which is why I did a video last week on season 1, which was Tidying Up with Marie Kondo, because that season was released in 2019, which was before I had my YouTube channel. So because that season was so personally meaningful to me, I wanted to return to it first before I reviewed season 2. If you haven't seen that video, you might find it helpful to watch, so I will make sure to link it down in the description box below for you to check out after this one. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be going over the 2nd season and sharing my thoughts as a minimalist. I still do love season 1 the most, but there was also a lot to like in season 2. Since there were only 3 episodes in this season, I decided to only review my favorite episode, but go really deep. So that's what we're going to do today. And as always, I encourage you to go watch the Netflix show to really appreciate the love and the time and the effort that was put into making this series. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit that like button and let's dive in. This episode starts with Marie doing something I found very interesting, and we're inside her home. We see that she's burning some incense, and she's also kind of ringing and waving around this small little instrument that you may or may not be familiar with. It's not very common. She says that she wants to prepare her house because there's a lot of people coming in for the filming, and she just wants to kind of clear the air and let the house know that it's going to be a little bit busier than usual. And I just wanted to go over this because I think that if you can come to understand this on a deeper level, you'll really come to understand the entire philosophy behind the KonMari method. And what she explains is, in the Japanese way of thinking, that everything has a soul or an energy that flows through it. And although she doesn't explicitly say it, this idea or this concept is part of the Shinto religion. And in fact, you might not know this, but Marie Kondo actually worked as a Shinto shrine maiden for several years while living in Japan and attending college. And even if you aren't familiar with Shinto or the concept of animism, if you've ever seen the movies by Studio Ghibli, like My Neighbor Totoro, or Princess Mononoke, or Spirited Away, you'll find the themes and concepts of animism seamlessly woven throughout the movies. It's kind of like how in the Disney movie Pocahontas sang that every tree, every stone, everything in the forest has a life, has a spirit, has a name. If you're wondering why I seem to know so much about this, I was actually quite interested in Japan and Japanese culture and even studied the language at one point for fun. But then I had to switch to studying Chinese when I met and fell in love with my husband because I felt that it was important to be able to communicate with his family. 这是命运. So back to the small instrument that Marie was using. This instrument is called a tuning fork. A tuning fork is an acoustic resonator. So it basically, you strike it and it produces a very clear, pure tone. And it's typically seen being used by musicians to tune their instruments. But Marie Kondo says that she likes to use it in her home to kind of clear the air and help restore balance. And when we know that Marie Kondo in the past worked as a Shinto shrine maiden, this actually makes a lot of sense because the shrine maidens will, at certain times throughout the day, ring these ceremonial bells that are said to help restore balance, clear people's minds, ward off evil spirits, and so on. I was really excited to get a sneak peek into Marie Kondo's home because I've always wanted to see it, and I found it really, really funny because I was remembering back to season 1 when she went into the friend family's kitchen in episode 1, and she commented on how big American-style kitchens are compared to the average Japanese kitchen. You can see that their kitchen is really nice and large. They have a big, beautiful island, and her daughters are there, and her husband is cooking dinner. And I could tell immediately that Marie's husband, Takumi, has a great sense of humor. You know how I could tell? Look at that, bam, he's Salt Bae. And that brings us to episode 1 with the Williams family, and we're going to Logan's garden in LA. And we meet Jimmy, who has been gardening since he was 4, and his son Logan, who has been gardening with his father since he was around the age of 16. And apparently their garden is the garden of youth because he looks like he stopped aging at 16. He says that he's 35. What? I want to eat what they're growing. So Maria is walking up to greet the family in their garden, and immediately, as a minimalist, I'm noticing a problem here as I'm watching this. And it's shows like this and social media can make you want to spend money because I am immediately noticing how cute Marie Kondo's dress is, and I want to buy that dress for myself. It's so cute, so practical. Look at the pockets, people. Marie, if you see this video, please tell me where you got this dress. Okay. And so if you see something like this in a video or on social media, what I would recommend is to add it to a list and wait 30 days. And if by the end of 30 days you still find yourself wanting that thing, then you can go ahead and buy it. But this 30-day rule can really help you cut down on impulse buying. There we go. At the Logan garden, they grow edible plants and flowers, and they're pretty good at the growing part, but maybe not so good at the organization part. And we meet one of the staff members, Zan, who says that Jimmy kind of has this mental map in his head of where everything is supposed to be, but then nobody else really knows what the system is, and sometimes even Jimmy can't find what he's looking for. As a minimalist, I can say that one of the benefits of significantly decluttering the stuff in your home is then afterwards you can give each item its own particular place, and then it's really easy for the rest of the family to know where that thing will be, and also if they use something, they know where to put it back. So then things can easily go back to their proper place as if they're pulled by a magnet. Logan's also mentioning that he hopes that if they get more organized, if they can create a system in place that can help them be more productive and functional, then maybe they can take on more clients and help their business grow. Again, as a minimalist, this is huge. Minimalism can really help with workflow and productivity. When you have fewer belongings to manage and clean, you become even more efficient, which in turn frees up your time. I actually think that Logan has a little bit of a case of schadenfreude here because he seems pretty excited to have Marie come in and tell Jimmy what to do for a change, where it seems like Jimmy's always the one that's telling Logan what to do. One of the things I like about Marie Kondo's show is no matter how different the cultures are, or the people are, or the families are, there's always some kind of connection that can be found. And when Jimmy talks about the system that he uses with storing the seeds and the coolers, and he mentions that it was his grandma that taught him how to do this, Marie feels this real kinship with him because it was also her grandma that got her started on the path and interested in tidying up. So they both got started with their craft because of their grandparents, and I'm sure that a lot of us that are watching this can relate, whether we've gotten started on careers or we've picked up hobbies because of things that our parents or our grandparents like to do. And then I was really interested to see what she was going to do when she went to greet the home, because as we talked about in the last video, which was reviewing season 1, usually she kneels down inside the home in the seiza position to greet the house and let it know that they're going to be start decluttering. But Logan's garden is an outside space. It makes sense that because it's outside, she didn't kneel, but instead what she did is she did a bow. And in the Japanese culture, bowing is another way to show respect. And the deeper the degree of the bow, the greater amount of respect you are conveying to the party that you are bowing to. So if we look at Marie Kondo, she's bowing from the hips, and it's just about a 45-degree angle, which is a pretty deep bow. It puts it around sakere bow territory, and this literally translates to the most respectful gesture. This kind of bow is usually used when greeting someone very important, when apologizing, or when asking for big favors. So because we know how Marie Kondo likes to be very respectful when she's greeting the house, this degree of respect in her bow makes a lot of sense. Finally, we get to the part where they're pulling everything out and stacking it up. So they start digging through the bags, and spiders are coming out everywhere, and they're finding things and pulling them out, and Marie Kondo teaches her method on how to decide what to keep. Basically, you take everything out, put it in one place, hold each item in your hand, ask yourself if it sparks joy, and if it does not spark joy, we're going to thank that item and let it go. And I just want to note here that a lot of people think that decluttering is about getting rid of stuff, but really it's more about finding not only the things you want to keep, but also finding on a deeper level what you cherish and value in your life that you might have lost touch with, in all honesty. There was a really cute moment where they found Jimmy's pepper book, which apparently he had been looking for like 3 years. And he says, oh, this is something that definitely sparks joy. And I noted this in my previous video, but finding things like this that are like a very clear indicator of what sparks joy is, one of those things that you can hold and you just know you love it and you want to keep it. I call these your North Star pieces. And having something like this can help guide you forward whenever you're feeling stuck, so that you know, does this really spark joy, or am I just hanging on to it just in case, or nostalgic, or whatever?
Flashback.
But when was the last time that you wore that shirt? And then there's this really beautiful moment where Jimmy finds a rose catalog, and he says that he actually usually doesn't like non-edible things, but he loves roses because his grandmother also loved roses, and Logan actually didn't know that. So there was this small connection that was made. And that's one of the beautiful things about decluttering. There are treasures to be found when you're decluttering, but it's not always an actual object. Sometimes the treasure is an opportunity to learn something about yourself or a loved one that you didn't know before. And another thing I appreciate about Marie Kondo's show is that it kind of gives you a window into the complexity of human relationships. They're not the best family about expressing their feelings, which all of the parties say several times. And I think, again, a lot of us that have complicated family relationships and histories can really appreciate the sensitive nature of moments like this. And I know that many of you in my comment section have lost family members like I have, or have been through divorce, or have had other situations like this. And I think that this is one of the most special things about the Netflix series with Marie Kondo, is that it like opens up this little window into not just the hearts of the families on the show, but also our own hearts and the feelings and complications and relationships and emotions that we share as a species, as human beings. Later, Marie also mentions that it's really helpful to make a to-do list at the beginning of your day, which is also something that I do at the beginning of every single day. And I've mentioned this in my morning routine video, which I will link up here for you. But along with making the bed, making a to-do list is just a small habit that you can do every day to create a sense of order, even in the most chaotic of times. Another moment that I liked is when Logan's sister Porter shows up and they go into their relationship as siblings a little bit further, and he talks about how complicated it is because you grow up and everyone kind of goes their separate ways, and the communication is a little bit more difficult, and you just feel like there's hardly any time to connect, and maybe you start drifting apart. Maybe the reason that I like this episode so much is because I saw so many similarities between the Williams family and my own family. Like Jimmy, my dad was also very hardworking. In fact, I would probably call him a workaholic. He was also a landscaper who was outside on a day-to-day basis in nature, working with his hands. And also, like the family, he wasn't very good at expressing himself or his thoughts. And in fact, after my mom died, I can't remember him talking to me about her a single time after she passed away. I actually don't even know how my parents met, how they fell in love, anything about their story together or their life together. And then when he got sick and passed away in my early 20s, I lost the chance to ask those questions forever. Something that I've come to realize over the course of my life is the most precious, non-renewable resource that we have is time, because you can never turn back the clock on those moments once they're past. Wow, I think that this whole gardening episode just became one big metaphor for life, death, and rebirth. Arigatou gozaimasu to Marie Kondo for giving me this moment. Okay, then we come back, and on a lighter note, they have finished with the tidying and they come back to see what Marie has done, because she said she was going to help them get some systems in place to help them with their organization. And we see these amazing wooden stands for like holding the plants, and she has set up this kind of shed, this wooden shed with a roof on it, which they say that this is something that they've always wanted to do. They've been talking about it for 15 years, but never got around to it. And finally it's there, and they are so excited to see it. But the tidying is not done. Now that they've got the shelves up, they need to know how to organize the bins so that they can actually find what they're looking for. So then when Marie comes, she helps them sort things into better categories so they don't waste time looking for stuff. And given that the average American wastes 55 minutes per day looking for stuff that they own but they can't find, this is a great time-saving strategy. And Marie shows Jimmy her method for using boxes inside of the bins and boxes to help store things vertically so that you can see them at a glance. When you open the lid and you look inside, then you can really see everything that's in there. And the boxes inside of boxes thing really works. It works for clothing inside of your drawers, it works for storing Tupperware in your kitchen, and it even works in your office. It's good for so many places. And then later you see Jimmy goes to Porter, and they're visiting and they're going through family pictures and they're talking about some of the struggles that the business is having. And Porter offers to help take over the emails so that Jimmy has more free time to work with Logan on things like seed propagation and all this plant stuff that I'm not very good at. But anyway, when Jimmy leaves, he says that he's super excited about it, to the point where he's almost ready to cry and very emotional, but he doesn't want to cry in front of the camera. And you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of season 1, episode, was it 2, with Ron Akiyama, because he also started the episode saying he's kind of a macho guy and this isn't something he'd normally do, but he's just going along with it for his wife. And then by the end of it, he's really gotten on board with this whole tidying process. So I was really seeing the similarities between these gentlemen and their changes in mindset from beginning to end. And then we get to see the juicy before and after pictures that everyone loves to see at the end. And those aerial shots of what the garden looks like afterwards from above were spectacular. And the great thing is it's not only organized on the outside, but it's also organized on the inside. Now there's even organization inside of the bins, and other people besides Jimmy can actually find things. And then there's a cute moment at the end where Salt Bae himself, Takumi, shows up with a bottle of wine to celebrate with the Williams family and his wife. And not only did they tidy up, but they also grew closer together as a family, which Marie mentions as a tidying expert is something that her clients commonly report happening to them throughout their decluttering journey. I've experienced this myself in my relationship with my husband and my kids, and I actually talked about that in my Benefits of Minimalism video, which I can link above, and you have seen it not just in this season, but also in season 1. If you go and watch all the episodes, there's always some kind of transformation that happens, not just on the outside, but also on the inside. I really enjoyed this season getting to know more about Marie, her family, and her process for tidying up at the workplace. I will make sure to link Marie's book, on which the series is based, down in the description and the comment section below, so you can check it out if you feel like your workplace is in dire need of some tidying. And while there's definitely things that I do differently as a minimalist, I have a great amount of respect for Marie Kondo and her KonMari method, which has changed the lives of millions of people around the world. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, please hit that like button and maybe consider subscribing to my channel to join our minimalist family if you love videos about decluttering, minimalism, and financial minimalism. Don't forget to ring the bell so that when you do, you can get all notifications for future videos because I have a lot of great videos coming up soon. And I'll see you again next week. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.